What's going on, everybody? In today's show, we're going to break down what WOJ, Marc Stein, and what Bleacher Report had to say this morning surrounding Donovan Mitchell. But I want to ask you this question before we kick off today's show. In a Donovan Mitchell trade, which side has more leverage? Do the Knicks have the leverage? Do the Jazz have the leverage? Let me know what you're thinking. Type NYK for the Knicks, or you can just type Utah for the Utah Jazz. How long will it take for a Donovan Mitchell trade to happen? According to Adrian Wojnarowski, it could take some time. You're watching New York Knicks Now by Chat Sports. I'm your host, Marshall Green. We're going to break down the WOJ report surrounding Donovan Mitchell. Marc Stein had some very interesting things to say about Donovan Mitchell, the Knicks, and some teams that may actually not be interested in him that were rumored to. And Bleacher Report said the Heat want Kevin Durant over Donovan Mitchell. And how does that impact the New York Knicks? This is what Woj had to say. He said New York does not want to bid against itself and offer up more and more without a sense that there is someone else in the marketplace yet doing that. I do think any potential Donovan Mitchell deal is going to take some time. Now, the Jazz are out talking to the rest of the league, seeing what else might be available to them. In my opinion, the Jazz do not have time on their side. Training camp is just around the corner, and right before you know it, the NBA season will be kicking off. And the Jazz do not want Donovan Mitchell on their roster come game 1 of 82 in the NBA regular season. And it would be weird for him to be at training camp when he's been mentioned in trade rumors and you have a brand new head coach in there. That would be an awkward way as a head coach to kick off your tenure with a new organization. New head coach, star player, doesn't really want to be there, but you've been shopping him. He hasn't requested a trade. That would be a really weird situation. I wanted to do this right now, though. If you want the trade to happen already, just type 45 in the comment section right now. Let's light up the comment section. I want to see 45s everywhere because me, you, your dog, your mom, your baby mama, we all want to see Donovan Mitchell get traded to the New York Knicks. We want it to happen like 5 seconds ago. We all want the Woj bomb to come to our phone, and then you get that notification from New York Knicks Now that a trade has happened. But if you just want the trade to already happen, type 45 in the comment section right now. The reason the Knicks don't want to just keep bidding and offering up deals to Danny Ainge is because is there actually another team out there that's interested in a Donovan Mitchell trade? I really don't think there is. And that's what Jake Fischer said this morning in his Bleacher Report write-up. He said, the Miami Heat remain focused on acquiring one of the two aforementioned all-stars. And multiple sources with knowledge of the situation told Bleacher Report that Miami has prioritized pursuing Kevin Durant over Donovan Mitchell. What does that mean? The Heat, they want KD. They don't want Donovan Mitchell. If the Heat aren't interested, what other team is actually interested in trading for Donovan Mitchell? Is it the Brooklyn Nets? We'll talk about them in a second. I don't believe so. And this is why the Utah Jazz have no leverage, in my opinion. If you don't have any leverage, raise your hand right now. That's what Danny Ainge is doing. They have no leverage. He didn't request a trade in Donovan Mitchell. They just went out and started to shop him because once they got that Godfather offer for Rudy Gobert of 5 first-round picks, Walker Kessler, and a pick swap, they had to make that trade. And by making that trade, what did you do? You started to set the tank into motion. And if you're tanking, why on earth would you want to keep Donovan Mitchell, a player that's been to the playoffs every single year of his NBA career, someone that's been the driving force, the number one option on a team that's finished first in the Western Conference? This is why the Jazz don't want Donovan Mitchell on their roster, because the Jazz best asset is their own first-round pick. I don't care about the Minnesota Timberwolves first-round pick. That's going to be somewhere in the 20s. They have their own first-round pick. And if they want to start a retool and a rebuild and bottom out, it's by losing games, and a lot of them, and being one of the worst teams in the NBA. And if Donovan Mitchell is on your roster, you will not be one of the worst teams in the association. The Jazz are tanking. They don't want Donovan Mitchell on their team. They're ready for a rebuild. That's why they brought in Danny Ainge to tank, bottom out, and get as many picks and draft capital as you can by trading out Rudy Gobert and trading Donovan Mitchell. That's why the Jazz have no leverage. The Knicks didn't call Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge called the Knicks because he knew they were interested, and he knew the Knicks had everything that the Utah Jazz wanted. We're going to continue to break this down, and I have some more thoughts on this. But first, I want to remind you guys to subscribe to New York Knicks Now, because we're putting out videos every single day on the latest Knicks news and rumors. And when a Donovan Mitchell trade happens, we'll be the first video up on YouTube breaking it down. But first, here at Chat Sports, I want to tell you that we have multiple NBA channels. We have Knicks Now, 76ers Now, Celtics Today. We have Mavericks channel, Warriors channel, Lakers channel. The New York Knicks channel is just over a year old. And a year ago, Boston Celtics Today was at 6.4 thousand subscribers. And a year later, the Knicks are just under 1.5 thousand subs away from catching them. Will Scott, step your game up, because New York Knicks Nation is going to catch and pass Boston Celtics today. If you love the Knicks and you hate the Celtics, it's another reason to subscribe. Hit that big red button. And also, give me a follow on Twitter. I've had a lot of people come and say, Marshall, are you on Twitter? And yes, I am. You can give me a follow at @MarshallGreen_. And everyone that follows me today, I'll make sure to follow you back. Just let me know you came from this video. In my opinion, and everything we're reading, and I think the tea leaves say this, the Knicks are the only team that have what the Jazz want in a trade. They don't want to take a player back like Tyler Hero, who's due for a massive contract extension in a year. They want players that are young, on inexpensive deals, and a lot of draft capital. What team comes to your mind when you think about who has that? The New York Knicks. 8 tradable first-round picks over the next 7 years. Guys like Quentin Grimes, Emmanuel Quickley, Obi Toppin. The Knicks have what the Jazz want. And that's why I believe a trade will eventually get done. And so does Marc Stein. This is what he had to say in his Spotify Live. I didn't even know that was a thing. He said this last night. He said the deal eventually gets done. The Knicks have too much to lose for it not to get done. The Jazz are prioritizing picks and focusing on a full rebuild going into 2023. Danny Ainge is trying to get as many picks as possible, and the Knicks are trying to keep Grimes out of the deal. Fournier or Randall are likely to be going to Utah on a deal. That's why they are prioritizing picks. He said the deal gets done before training camp. Whether that's tomorrow, next week, or this week, it'll get done. The Jazz know the Knicks have the best package to offer them. Looking around the market to see what's out there, but I do expect it to ultimately get done with the amount of picks and young players that the Knicks have on expiring contracts. He also said this, which I think is very important. The Nets are not an option for Donovan Mitchell unless Ben Simmons is traded. The Knicks are the only team that can get this done 1v1 between picks and draft capital. It's going to take a while, but right now it's the Knicks to lose. And it's all on Leon Rose at this point to get it done. If he really wants to bring the Spider from Salt Lake City to Madison Square Garden, he can get it done. The Knicks have more tradable assets that are held in a high value by other GMs than any team in the NBA. The only sad thing is it's probably going to take 2 of these 3 guys right here in a trade. So I want to ask you this question. We've done it before, but Summer League's over now. Maybe you have a new and different opinion about Quentin Grimes. If you had to keep one of these guys in a Donovan Mitchell trade, let me know who it would be. Type 1 for Obi Toppin, type 5 for Emmanuel Quickley, or you can go down and type 6 for Quentin Grimes. If you asked me this 3 days ago, I probably would have said Quentin Grimes. But today, I want to keep Obi Toppin. And that comes from the reports from Marc Stein that if Donovan Mitchell gets traded to the New York Knicks, they're going to move on from Julius Randle. And if that happens, that means Obi Toppin will slide into the starting power forward spot. And you'd have a starting 5 of Jalen Brunson, Donovan Mitchell, R.J. Barrett, Obi Toppin, and Mitchell Robinson. Jalen Brunson, 25 years old. Donovan Mitchell, 25 years old. R.J. Barrett, 22. Obi Toppin, 24. Mitchell Robinson, 24. That's 5 players that have all not reached their prime, are still young, and still ascending players. I think Obi Toppin is the perfect piece alongside Brunson, Mitchell, and Barrett. He doesn't need the ball to be effective. He's a high-energy guy. He has defensive potential with the athleticism and the length that he has. He's going to run in the fast break. He can spot up on the three-point line. He's a good roller in pick-and-roll situations. He does everything well at the 4 spot that the New York Knicks would need if they had ball-dominant guards in R.J. Barrett, Donovan Mitchell, and Jalen Brunson. I love Emmanuel Quickley, But does it really make all that much sense to keep him if you have already Jalen Brunson and Donovan Mitchell, 2 6'1" guards on this team? Those three guys playing together doesn't make that much sense. And I love Quentin Grimes. I think he is a championship piece. I think he's a 3-and-D guy that will play in the NBA for the next 10 to 12 years. But do I really want to prioritize a bench piece in Quentin Grimes over Obi Toppin, who would be a starting piece with this team? I say no, and that's why I'm rolling with Obi Toppin as the one guy I would want to keep. I want to say thank you to everybody that's made New York Knicks Now a part of their day today. Video 2 of the day, and that's for all the real ones out there. You guys have been tapped in. You've been watching every video. You've been commenting, showing love, liking the video, sharing it. That's awesome, and that's why we're getting you 2 videos today. And that might be more of a recurring theme coming down the line. But as you know, Real One roll call. Let's hit it. If you made it this far in the video, type Real One in the comments right now.